Hello and welcome everybody to the AV Exchange presented by Midwich. I am your host, Joe Dunbar. It's Thursday, as it always is, right? April 3rd. We're cruising through the year. It's Q2 already, which for most of us anyway, following the calendar. I'm always excited. As you guys know, we've got Smart in the house tonight, and I'm super excited because we're going to be talking primarily about, I think, the SmartBoard Mini and focusing a lot of our time on that. This is a product that I can't get enough of right now. I was a big proponent of kind of the previous iteration of the product, which has inspired the SmartBoard Mini, which was the Podium. So we've got Ryan Striemer in the house. We'll get him in here in a second, but we've got a couple of housekeeping things to go over first. I have a poll I'm going to launch for you guys real quick while we're doing this. We just want to get to know everybody, know who we're talking to, see how familiar you are with Smart, or if this is something new to you, so that we're not talking right over your heads. Please use the Q&A for questions, and obviously, as always, we encourage questions. That way I can keep track of them and make sure we insert them into the conversation. If they go into the chat, sometimes I miss them. So, if you put it in there and I don't get to it, please don't feel offended or like I blew you off or anything, but use the Q&A for those questions. Chat for general discussion. We always encourage that. I love to let everyone know to just sound off. Let us know where you're coming from. I'm still in the Southwest US for a few more weeks, staying planted for NAB next week and then making some moves. So I get around, but it's beautiful weather down here. So let us know where you're at and hopefully you're sharing the same. It looks like we've got people responding to the poll. I really appreciate that. Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and bring you in here, my friend. Ryan Striemer, everybody from Smart. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Hey, I can't complain. I'm up here in Calgary, Canada at Smart headquarters, and it's not snowing. So I'm pretty happy right now. I can't
That's
complain.
good, man. I'm excited to have you here. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to get with us and educate us. I did say on this, primarily, I think the SmartBoard Mini is where we're going to be focusing on and chatting the most about today. I'm sure we will get questions about other things, and I don't want to discourage questions if they're not specifically about the SmartBoard Mini. So go ahead and get those in, folks. Ryan, before we kind of jump into the conversation and I start prodding you about the SmartBoard Mini and all the things it can do, can you just give us like a general kind of introduction to yourself and a background so we kind of know, how you got to Smart and who we're talking with?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, my name is Ryan Striemer, based here in Calgary, Canada at Smart headquarters. I've been at Smart for almost 12 years now, so it feels like it's been my whole career. It hasn't been. I started here at Smart in our project support team, so kind of building out training programs for our call center, and over the years just sort of fell into sales. It's a lot of fun to talk to people about our products. It's a lot of fun to collect stories and find out more about how people do what they do and how we can help them. So that's what I do every day now is kind of making connections with people and getting to show them a little bit about how maybe we can help them do what they do even better.
I love it. And what did you say your title was? I missed it. It's business consultant?
Pretty much, yeah. Business solutions consultant. So what that means is that I work with all of our customers basically outside of K-12, right? So we'll probably talk more about it, but Smart's pretty well known for that K-12 space, smart boards in classrooms and schools, but anybody outside of that specific vertical is who I talk to, which we kind of classify internally as business.
Right. So yeah. Separate from the higher ed and education path, you've got your enterprise business. That makes perfect sense. I asked specifically because I think in AV especially, I mean, not that this isn't true of other industries, but Ryan, we all tend to wear quite a, maybe a handful of hats or maybe more than a few hats. And, I think it's tough to find an appropriate title sometimes for a role who maybe does a lot of things. So like that makes sense. It opens you up, and specifically the business aspect had me thinking, Ryan's got to be more on the enterprise side of things, likely, which seems to be the case. So I appreciate the clarification. Let's jump right into some SmartBoard Mini stuff. Look, Ryan, Smart is, I don't want to get too crazy, but in my eyes, like Smart is the de facto standard for interactive touch displays. As you said, in higher education, I would say kind of in the market in general, certainly one of the most recognizable brand names for that vertical and this type of product. Can you I want to talk SmartBoard Mini, so we start with like an overview. Let's take a peek at it, and kind of just see the high 30,000 foot view look.
Absolutely. So for anybody on the call who might not be totally familiar or comfortable with what Smart does, from a really high level, what we do is we design and manufacture interactive touch displays. So it used to be those old projectors with whiteboards, and now it's all TV screens. And the idea is that you walk up to one of these things, and kind of intuitively know how to use it. You just lift your pen, begin to draw. Your fingertip is a mouse click, and then the back of your hand or your palm or whatever is an eraser, right? So easy to use. And that form factor that people tend to think of when they think of the smartboard, that sort of TV-sized device, we've now shrunk down into this 27-inch form factor in the Smartboard Mini. So the name kind of tells you all you have to know about it from a really high level. It's that, hey, anything you can do on a smartboard, you can do on this device as well. So, kind of fitting into different spaces and use cases. There's lots of different ways to kind of apply the product. But from a really high level, that's what it is. It's a smartboard shrunk down to a size that really makes it flexible for any workspace.
Awesome. I think I'm glancing at poll results right now. It looks like, as often is the case, we're talking primarily to systems integrators, and it looks like most folks are at least somewhat familiar, if not very familiar with Smart. So they're going to understand the Smartboard, the place in the market and everything like that. Since we're talking to systems integrators, I don't want to get too dry because I know this is maybe not the most exciting thing for a lot of people, but usually for the design folks, we really are kind of looking for some specs. I mean, it's a smaller display, so I'm guessing is it 4K resolution? Is it 1080p resolution? What kind of IO are we working with? What are kind of the highlight features on the specifications?
Yeah, great question, folks. So again, 27-inch size. It is a 4K UHD resolution on this guy, so it's going to look great, basically. There's lots of different little pieces to talk about that are really interesting. A couple of things that differentiate us from other sort of like products on the market. Biggest thing is an OPS slot built into the back of the unit. So you can actually slide an OPS PC into the unit itself. Or if you want to take advantage of our Android operating system as well, we have a module that can do that too. So that OPS slot is a big differentiator for us. The other piece that's really exciting to talk about in terms of kind of fitting this device into a room or into a room with different kinds of pieces already in there is that we have USB-C and HDMI in and out. So it makes it really, really flexible and really easy to integrate into those different environments. Aside from that, it's obviously, if you can see on the video here, it's got that webcam as well. There's a mic array built in there too, so you can actually video conference on the unit itself as well. 12-watt sound output too. So lots of different little pieces kind of baked into this device. Big updates from our last Podium product for sure.
And Ryan, this isn't even, I'm going to kind of curveball you here because this isn't even a question that I had planned out or something, but you talk about the Smart Podium and is it fair to say that this is another iteration of the Smart Podium, albeit I understand it's a bit different, how is this Smart Podium 2.0 and rebranded, or is it we retired the Podium, we came down with the Smartboard Mini and specifically made that decision because the products delineate and this is more reflective of what a full-size smartboard is, just shrunk down? Does that make sense?
Totally, and it's a little bit of everything, I think, right? So we've had a number of Podium-like products over the years. People might be familiar with the term the Sympodium or the Symposium. People definitely know the Smart Podium, like the SP 627, 624 products. We internally are thinking of this as a brand new product because of all the different improvements that it has over our previous iterations. So if you kind of put them side by side, the last product would not look very much the same, right? It wouldn't have a camera. There would be no microphone, speakers, and then the connection type is different too, right? So that USB-C is a big step forward too. Yeah. So, to the person who might know a little bit about Smart or be familiar, Podium 2.0 might be a good way to think about it. But it's so different and it's so much better that, again, internally, we're thinking of it as a brand new product.
I love that. And that's why I ask. We like to keep things loose here and very discussional. And as we were talking about it, the first thing I had, the thought in my mind was like, I wonder why they're kind of going with the rebrand of the lineup. Is it more more similar to the full-size boards than it was to the Podium? So we're kind of branching away from that. So that makes good sense that it is a step away. It's its own product, but that doesn't mean it's not influenced, right, by past generations applications of the Podium. I know I had the SP624 on my desk for a long time, and our VP of sales, if anybody's ever been in a meeting with him, I mean, he's like John Madden in every meeting we have, and drawn out the plays and everything. He loves that thing, and we get quite a bit of use out of it, and it does quite help on the far end to be able, when somebody can't necessarily point to something, to really highlight and illustrate stuff, especially when we're working on floor plans, which pushes me now kind of into the next question that I had kind of lined up here. Is really, a lot of times we come out with new products and it's like, oh, it can work here and it can work there and it can work everywhere. And that's great. And I suspect we're going to see some of that here, right? Because this product is very flexible, can work in a lot of places. So kind of whatever your mind can dream up. But what are the verticals where you guys have identified and seen and know there are use cases? Obviously in the K-12 and higher ed space, Smart is a heavy hitter. In the enterprise space, we tend to see a lot of success in applications where there's design. So engineering and architecture firms and things like that. Are you guys thinking that's where these solutions are going to go? Are there other verticals and applications in mind? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And the answer, you kind of predicted it. It's a little bit of everything, right? So everything that you already said, slam dunk, home run, 100%. So, that higher ed space in particular is one that we love to talk about, right? In spaces where you want to be able to face your audience and not turn your back to them, that's really kind of point number one. So higher education, any sort of training space as well too. So when you're thinking about maybe federal government, municipal government, where you're doing presentations, you can think about even those, what we refer to internally as blue light. So fire and rescue, police, when you're presenting and you want to face, again, your audience, but still be able to mark up your content. Absolutely. The other thing about this that makes it probably, not even probably, definitely a lot more friendly to position is that it's actually got a mount on the back where you can attach a monitor arm to it too. So if you've got a personal space where, hey, you're doing a lot of virtual meetings, you can absolutely plug that in there and make it work for your own personal space as well too. So hearing that you've got folks internally using it that way, this might even be an easier way to kind of mount it and use it. So, but kind of getting back to your main question, higher ed, definitely, K-12, definitely, any training spaces, any collaboration spaces, anywhere where you'd want to be able to mark up content and sort of, I guess, get parity in a meeting is where you would see it. So, you name the vertical, definitely. There's one more that I want to mention that I think is super cool. And that really just is, making it, I guess, taking it on the road with you, making it portable as well, too. So we had a higher education customer with a pretty well-known sports component to their school. Ask, could we take this on the road with us? If we were going to go and visit other schools, maybe we want to hook it up to a projector system in a hotel room or whatever. Can we do that? The answer is absolutely yes. It's only 13 pounds. So you can definitely take it on the road with you if you wanted to as well. So long answer to a great question. I hope that kind of gives you what you're looking for.
Yeah, honestly, great answer. It kind of jogged a few other things. I hadn't really thought about it in a portable sense, but why not? Also, we kind of glossed over at the beginning. Surprised that it has a 4K display, and I think that's awesome. That shouldn't go without mentioning. I made a mental note back when you mentioned it, and it just came to me right now. Like, I would expect a display as they get smaller, to go maybe not as high resolution. So I think that's great. In terms of the verticals and applications, obviously you mentioned quite a few there. We're thinking about places where there's a lot of collaborative things going on. It does well in sports. You mentioned the mount and setup on the back. Is it the same? I see you got it. Does it kickstand up kind of right there like the Podium did? Is that what you got going on there?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there is a kickstand on the back, and that kickstand is that OPS slot for you, right? So if you wanted to have a device in there, you can. It's right inside the unit. Or, just on that subject too, you could just plug in a laptop that you bring into your desk as well. But yeah, kickstand. And then on the back of that kickstand is that mount for for a monitor arm if you wanted to as well. So pretty flexible, pretty easy to install and kind of configure the way that you want to.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. That's so cool. You mentioned the OPS slot. You mentioned, so there's does it accept, it's a full size OPS slot. It accepts the full size OPS options that you guys have for Windows. And you mentioned an Android module. Is that built in, or when you're buying this, you need to pick one of those two things? What does that look like?
Great question. So we're giving people options in terms of what they want, right? So, I think from a high level, we want people to get the flexibility of the product at every level of the process, whether that's choosing what works best for them, all the way down to installing it, right? So when you're looking at procuring one of these units, you can buy just the SmartBoard Mini by itself with nothing else. You can buy one with an OPS. You can buy one, again, with that AM60 Android module as well. So you have a number of options there to make it work well for you, for sure. Yeah, the Android piece is not, at this time, integrated directly into the unit. You'd have to add that module.
Got it. So when you're buying the unit, let's say you don't specify either of those and you get it out of the box, what's the operating system that it's going to run?
It's going to connect with whatever you have in the room with you already. So ideally what you would do is you'd have like a laptop of some kind and plug it in, or just an in-room PC that's dedicated kind of there all the time too. So that's what people would leverage. And quite frankly, that's what people have been doing already for years, right? So if you're if you're in contact with an organization that's got these units already and they're thinking like, how do we kind of go about that refresh process? Hey, take the old one out, put the new one in, plug it in, and away you go.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We do have a couple of questions rolling in a little bit. Let me get one. Jim had a good question, which I think kind of you can get in right from the jump. If you don't know, that's okay. What's the MSRP on the SmartBoard Mini there?
Yeah, so it's right around $2,000. So pretty close to, I think, what it would have been in years past as well. Now there's some different nuance there depending on what other modules you add to it, but looking kind of right around that $2,000 mark
awesome.
for a unit.
Effective, right where it needs to be. I think considering where I know the podium was and everything, that's a great price point. And obviously impacts how anybody's going to, if they're going to be able to get their hands on this thing and where it fits into some of those verticals. So well priced and positioned. We talked a little bit about some of the verticals, which kind of go all over the place. I know I mentioned a lot of the time when we're dealing with the podium in the past and now the Mini in the future was a lot of cases where there's, it tend to be like engineering, interior design firms, architecture firms, things like that, where people are frequently collaborating on often rather large documents. And you want to make markups in a way that are with your hand and a little more natural than working with a mouse and a keyboard or something like that. I want to pivot just a little bit because you did mention on the lead-in there's video conferencing available. You've got the camera there. I know there's mics, beamforming mics, I believe, some speakers. What are we just running Teams Personal or Zoom Personal on the Windows side, or what does that look like for integration with UC needs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, options, right? So if I were to take my laptop and plug it into this unit, I could run, this call off of this display. It could be Teams, it could be Zoom, it could be Google Meet, whatever you're using every day. If your laptop is driving it, this unit can support that and work really well with it. Right. On the other side, so I kind of have mentioned a couple of times now the Android as well. If you wanted to have that Android OS kind of baked in here as well, you can download Teams, Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, and kind of run things that way too. So it's not a unit that does one thing really well. Very much like our smart boards, it's something that's going to be basically a large tool belt for you. It's going to do a lot of things really well. So really, however you want to work and however you want to fold those different UC tools into your everyday workflow, it's going to support that in a really, really positive way.
It's hard sometimes to talk about something that's so flexible because we want to bury in people's minds, like when you run into these applications and you run into these needs, then call for this product. When something's extremely flexible, it's hard for people to think anytime I run into anything, I should call for this kind of a solution, right? So that doesn't quite connect. And so that's kind of why I'm trying to pin down some specifics on it. And the answer continues to be, It's whatever you want, which is a great answer to give people when you're moving a solution like this. So I appreciate the flexibility there. Is it fair to just assume on my end that I can use, if I've got a Windows OPS module in there, I know we've got the camera on top. If I'm in a space where I need to use another external camera or external audio source or anything like that, you know what I'm honestly thinking about, Ryan? You mentioned the flexibility of being able to travel with it. So I'm thinking about a sports team. They're probably in a hotel banquet room watching video and making their game plan for the next day, right? Are they going to be able to plug in any external peripherals and like the in-room stuff that they're using to supplement the audio pickup or something like that?
Wow, that's a great question, Joe. So, something just from a high level that people should know about Smart is that we're really concerned with the workflow first, and then our products kind of become an outflow of that, right? So, this exact use case that you're talking about is something that we've considered for sure, and that's where that nice differentiator of that USB-C in and out and that HDMI in and out comes into play, right? Where if you've got other pieces in the room that have to work well with this unit, hey, plug in and away you go, right? So if you've, again, like you mentioned, you're running Windows on your device, but you want to maybe plug into other things, as long as you have the right connection for it, you are good to go. Absolutely. So, and I can't name drop too much when I'm being recorded, right? But there are organizations that are already doing that kind of thing with the prototypes that are out there for sure. So yeah,
I imagine,
absolutely.
and I love that flexibility. It just helps with, again, kind of integration for all the stuff. A lot of us get into situations where we go, a customer's got questions and an integrator's helping them out, and they say, yeah, okay, we can do this, we can do this. And there's always at least one request, if not a few requests, that throws a huge wrench into the pile. And it's like, oh, I had a perfect solution in mind that would have been affordable and ticked all your boxes, but you also need it to integrate with extra stuff or whatever. And then all of a sudden that makes things really expensive. So I love that we're not kind of walking down that road here.
Yeah, yeah. I would just add that, like, just me personally, I've been around Smart for so long, and I've seen a lot of what I refer to at least as these Frankenstein monster solutions, where you've got this one brand doing one thing and one brand doing another, and one thing kind of plugged in over here, and it's sort of to some degree held together with duct tape, right? So we design our products to be as user friendly as possible and give people as many tools all at once in one unit. But again, I mean, that flexibility, people have other pieces that they do really like. So we know that we have to, I guess the best way to put it is play well with others too, right? So that's definitely high on our priority list.
I love it. Sure. And I think honestly, one of the things that I like the most about this, especially when compared to the past iterations and the Podium, is the integration with the UC hardware, the camera, the microphones, the speakers. When I had used my Podium in the past, it was in a situation where if I was working with and looking at my Podium and doing work on there, I was turning hard away from where kind of the rest of my gear was. And so it was like, man, it'd be great if I could just use this for everything and not have to extend my camera over from a PC or something like that. That really helped my situation. In terms of the cameras, microphone, can you just elaborate a little bit on those? The camera, I mean, is it a EPTZ camera? Is it the same camera we're seeing on the interactive, the larger interactive boards? Just some details on those.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it is an EPTZ camera. It's 4K, five times zoom. There is some AI framing in there as well too. One question that I've actually gotten a lot from people is, depending on the space, they may or may not want that camera on there. So just in case anybody's wondering this in the chat or hasn't like vocalized or I guess typed this yet, yes, you can take the camera off if you wanted to as well, but it is a great camera. The other question that I get is, does it have a shutter on it to actually close off the camera feed? It does have a shutter as well too. So you have all the little bits that you need in there from a great camera, and you can detach it if you wanted to as well. The mic array, I think one of the most important pieces about the mic array is that it's actually noise canceling as well. So, if you are in a more wide open space, kind of like what I'm in today, actually, and you're doing a conference like we're doing right now, it will actually filter out some of that background noise too. Now, this unit here that I have it's really a prototype, so it knows the touch and it knows all that kind of stuff. But I have had a colleague using this on a virtual call like this one, using this microphone array, and it's actually surprisingly good for something that you almost wouldn't expect to be as good as it is, and it cancels out that surrounding noise pretty well too. So yeah, important things to note about
Yeah,
that for sure.
especially Ryan, in a world where I'm real hesitant to use the term, but everybody's got an AI camera and an AI microphone and whatever it is that's doing the work to do that kind of canceling of unwanted noise and pickup and things like that is really becoming a standard. So, this is a smaller product. We've talked about portability and flexibility, and a lot of times when you lose size, you can lose the ability to get good audio pickup and get good image pickup and things like that. So those are super important. I really want to kind of looking at the hardware. I've seen a couple of marketing materials out there that show this just may be marketing too, and you can say that's an okay answer, right? We're loose and casual here, but they've shown applications where people are using the SmartBoard Mini, and up on the wall they have a full-size SmartBoard interactive panel. Can you just talk about how the SmartBoard Mini can or maybe not work in conjunction with a larger interactive panel and where you might put those?
Yeah, I actually really like the phrasing of that question. So honestly, no, it is not just marketing. We can do that, right? So that's, again, part of the value of having that USB-C in and out. So that ability to transfer all those different components back and forth to something like a larger smartboard display. So when we did our initial launch call for this product, we had it rigged up that way, where we had the podium, the SmartBoard Mini plugged into a larger SmartBoard behind us, and we were able to ink back and forth simultaneously on both devices. So, for those who are sitting and wondering, like, why is that important? Where would you see that? Well, going back to some of those verticals, higher ed, training spaces for sure. You might want to have that back and forth discussion where maybe one person is facing the audience and the guest comes up to annotate or add some detail there for sure. In addition to that, what ends up happening is, if your smart board display has some peripherals that you want to utilize as well, maybe it's got a camera plugged in, maybe it's got speakers or a mic array. Hey, we can access those again through that USB-C connection or that HDMI connection too. So you kind of get a sense a little bit of that loop that we can create with that back and forth annotation. And again, that ability to play nicely with other things that are in the room. Now, that's really playing nicely with our own stuff in that specific case. But hey, maybe you want to plug the SmartBoard Mini into a large form projector as well, and have that sort of, I guess, projected out for folks to watch in a larger way. Plays well there too, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. I kind of rambled.
No, it definitely does, man. It's just conversation. I appreciate the folks dropping in questions. We got another one coming in. We'll get to it in a sec. I just want to come back to that question we were talking about, working within a larger interactive display, be it a smart interactive display or not. You're talking about basically utilizing USB extension control of the, whatever our primary board is in that situation. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So again, if I'm getting your question right, if I had this unit plugged into a smart board, this would basically be like a screen mirror or an extended monitor, and I could control what's going on kind of back and forth on both units. Yeah. From
just like we would do if we were connecting to a regular old laptop or a desktop PC or anything like that. So there's nothing really extra to know about it. It can work well in conjunction with the smart interactive panels, the larger ones, or third-party material, which is really what we're going to run into a lot as well. Kyler had a great question, very very straightforward, but we didn't really mention it. Kyler is really wanting to know how many touch points there are on the SmartBoard Mini, which is a great question.
Tyler, that's a really good question. Now that you asked that question, I'm sort of second guessing myself. It might be 20, but I'm not exactly sure. So I may follow up with you on that.
We certainly can.
Yeah, perfect. Because just that's one thing that I put me on the spot, and now I'm thinking I can't exactly remember, but I know that'll be listed on our spec document for sure. It'll be there. So
I love it. It's all good. I even your inclination to say that it might be 20 is like, well, there's a lot of touch points there. You're not going to have 4 different people or 5 different people working on the Smartboard Mini at one time. I can't imagine huddled around something like that. In that application, you're going to be on a larger board. I'm thinking more about scenarios where like 2 people are trying to get onto it at the same time. And did we lose Ryan?
No, I'm still here. Just if you don't mind, Joe, I'm just gonna plug my laptop, and it looks like my power is not fully in. So I'm just gonna quickly make sure that you don't lose
No
me
problem.
and plug into here
No
all
problem.
the way.
For anyone that knows me, they know that I'm the AV nomad, as our VP of sales likes to refer to me, and full time in the RVs. You can usually tell, and so I am no stranger to dropouts, the internet, of the power, all things that I have to consider pretty regularly. So I welcome the company, man. We've got questions rolling in. Jim's got a couple great questions too. Let's start with the stylus. Is it the same regular stylus that it comes with, or is it a different stylus for this product?
No, so it's a little bit of a different stylus. So what you would see from a normal smart display is sort of a thicker pen that emulates that whiteboard marker kind of look and feel. This is a little bit different, and it's different from the previous iterations as well. This has thousands of pressure points built into it. So as you push with this stylus, it'll actually give you thicker ink, like pressure ink, which is awesome. There's a little on-off button here. It's the whole thing is black, so it's tough to see, but little on-off button, and then some charging connectors on the one side as well too. So when you actually put it up top to rest on the top of the unit, it'll charge. I believe 1 minute of charge time equals 1 hour of use. And then the back side of the stylus is an eraser as well. So again, that ease of use component, you walk up, you want to draw. And I can actually even, I'm not sure how well it'll show on camera here, but if I pop into PowerPoint and I'll power my pen on here with the button, automatically my pen will sort of produce ink here, and then I erase just by flipping it around and erasing as well. So, ease of use is really important for us, and that stylus does a lot of those pieces really well.
That's some heavy lifting. Those are good questions. It sort of came across on camera. It looked pretty good on my end. I don't know how it's going to look once it's compressed on the far side, but I love to see. So active stylus, there's charging involved. Can you tether the pen to the display? Is there any way to do that?
Yeah, you can. It will come with a tether in the box. This one is not currently tethered, but you will get that ability to connect it physically to the unit if you wanted to.
Awesome.
For sure.
Appreciate the questions, folks. Yeah. Keep them coming. We've got a couple stacked up, so I'm diving deep into these now because I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So trying to keep it relevant. I think the stylus, I don't want to lose. We'll move on in a sec, but it feels very Apple Pencil-ish, very intuitive, and I love that. I think that's, they set a pretty good standard when the iPad Pros really got involved, and I know there's a lot of graphic designers in the world that have worked with stylus for a long time, and I just love how far the technology is coming, and this looks so exciting. It's got to be like a stylus leader in the lineup. I'll be curious to see if that makes its way to a lot of the other products.
Yeah, I would say that our focus definitely is ease of use, right? So what I'll hear from people sometimes, and not necessarily about our technology, but just things in general is, hey, we bought this for X reason, but nobody was comfortable using it or knew how to use it. And so they didn't. And so for us, for what we do every day, what's really important is that when people walk up to something like this, they shouldn't have to read an instruction manual this thick in order to get comfortable using the thing. It should behave as you expect it to. And that's what I'm kind of getting at here with this stylus, and the whole experience really is that it behaves the way that you would expect it to, and anybody can walk up to it and use it in a way and feel successful and feel like they're commanding the space and taking control of their presentation and ultimately communicating in a way that's really effective, no matter where their audience is, in the room or external. They have all the bits and pieces you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're not intimately familiar with a product and you got to step up there and it's like, okay, I understand. I can take a pen and write on this thing, but how hard am I pressing? What, is my palm? Is there palm rejection technology in here?
There is. And so I'll do my best to demo that. And again, this is one of those prototype units. So, we'll see if we'll see what happens. But if I rest my palm on the board, and I am, just trust me, I will still get that nice ink stroke without it being confused about what's going on here, right? So
It's
straightforward.
pretty key
Yeah.
at this point in the game. I think you got to have that. We got a couple other questions rolling in, a couple good ones too. How about the camera? Can you rotate the camera? It's EPTZ, we said, so I know it's not motorized. But is there any ability to physically turn the camera around and face the crowd, or adjust the angle, anything like that?
That's a really good question. So I gotta be a little careful because the PD guys might not like my answer, but fingers crossed here. So definitely the way the unit is designed is to, you can tilt the whole unit the way that you want to, and the camera will be adjustable that way as well too. So I can definitely kind of put it up, put it down, all those kinds of things. When I got this question from a couple of folks a few weeks ago, people said, well, yeah, what if we wanted to turn the camera around? You physically could, and there's some screws in the back that hold the camera where it is. But I did test this, and you can turn the camera around and then plug it in, and it will fit and it'll work. You won't be able to screw it in the same way as you would if it were facing out at the presenter, but you can do that. It won't rotate left to, at least I don't think it does. It won't rotate left to right, just up and down, that sort of vertical adjustment.
Cool.
Yeah.
I totally understand that you got to be careful about how you answer it. I think that was I appreciate the very detailed and accurate answer, that it can be done, but it's not necessarily designed to be done that way, right? So that's an important caveat to note. There's a lot of folks out there that will, if it can be done, they will do it, so let's keep those expectations realistic, that if you want to go that route, that's fine. It may not be the cleanest look because it's not made to do that, right? That's great. We got a question. I got a couple more here. This one came from 3 different people, so I have to talk about it. I'm guessing I already know the answer, and I'm guessing it's going to depend on whether or not you have the OPS and that sort of thing, but I'll let you dive. 3 different people asked about casting to either to other smart devices, from mobile devices, that type of thing. And I'm guessing this is really going to be tied to Windows and just work as any other Windows peripheral would, yeah?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's a couple of different ways to answer that. The first answer is, yeah, right, exactly. If you've got a Windows device in here, it's going to behave in that same way. So if you could cast to your Windows device, sure, you can do that. The more fun answer in some ways is that we have that OPS slot, right? So that OPS would feature our IQ software, our sort of smart branded Android operating system. And that does have the ability to cast to the unit. So if you wanted to do that using AirPlay, using Google Cast, using an app or a web connection, you can do that for sure. So again, speaks to that flexibility, right? So there's depending on which mode you're using, or which cartridge you've plugged into the unit, into that OPS.
I was expecting the answer to be kind of multifaceted. The casting in Windows, if you're running Windows, it's Windows and it's a Windows machine. And I'm curious, do you know what version of Windows 11 is? It's not IoT, or it is IoT, or is it a full blown? I'm sure it's not Windows Home, but do you know?
Do you mean like what comes installed on that OPS? Yeah, it'll be Windows 11 Pro.
I figured not IoT, but I just wanted to make sure, because I know we're not talking about doing any native rooms or anything in this case. That's not really what this is for. We got another question from Jim, wanting to know about the mic pickup. Good question.
Oh, okay. So I believe it's an 8 microphone array. Jim's probably wondering about the range on the microphone. Keep in mind again the design of the product, right? Is that you're probably going to be pretty close to the unit when you're using it, if you're using it in its quote unquote intended way. I can't off the top of my head remember the exact range on the microphone. It's certainly within 16 feet. It might even be 8. But having said that, and I don't want to set expectations too high, with similar microphones that we've used in other products, I've been pleasantly surprised at how well they perform outside of their specified range. So what I would probably do for folks asking questions about that is, we have a great spec document for this unit available on our website. If you go to support.smarttech.com, you'll be able to navigate to this exact unit. and it'll have a whole bunch of different stats on this specific to microphone range, the brightness of the display, I believe, is in there as well too. So as well as shipping dimensions and weight. So, all those different pieces are there. Forgive me for not being able to remember off the top of my head.
No, that's all right. And honestly, Jim, I'm trying to do the legwork for you right now, buddy. I'm off camera, so you guys aren't watching me like Google something. I'm rolling through the smart site, and unfortunately, there are too many documents for me to sit and make you guys wait to find the answer for you. But getting back to kind of your original comment, so it's an 8 microwave, it's beamforming. I have to imagine, because of the use case, as you mentioned, it's going to pick up in pretty much any use case pretty cleanly. Have you guys? I'm putting you on the spot here, Ryan. Have you used this on the other end of a conference call at all? Like, have you been on the other end of a conference call where somebody is using the SmartBoard Mini microphones?
Yeah, once or twice, and I do believe it was this exact unit. We have a couple of different prototypes kind of floating around here at headquarters, so it's sometimes tough to say. But I believe it was this unit, and honestly, it sounded pretty clear. For a prototype unit, awesome. And then again, kind of alluded to this a little bit before, but that noise canceling was fairly good, I would say, for a unit like this. Now, having said that, just to be fair with everybody, when I'm remote, it's hard to tell exactly how much noise is going on in that surrounding area. But from what I know about where the other person was broadcasting using this unit from, it can be a noisy area. And I did see some people walking around in the background chatting, and I couldn't hear anything. So I would say it's a pretty good experience. Awesome. One thing that I'll add on there as well too is that we're pretty aware of people's need to be able to test some of this stuff, right? So in the coming weeks, when we get our official units here at headquarters, we're going to be offering remote demos for people. So kind of in a format a little bit like this, where you can see somebody using the unit. We'll also be able to flip over and actually use those peripherals in a call as well too. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can actually get in and test it for yourself. We'll have those units again ready to go, ready to demo formally in the coming weeks here, hopefully before May.
Awesome.
So
anyone who knows me knows that if you're demoing equipment specifically for the purposes of unified communications and video conferencing, I am a huge proponent on remote demos, because it gives you a perfect, not just an idea, but it gives you an exact in the place example of what it's going to be like for your people on the far end. I feel like a lot of people get into this, they want to demo hardware, and they get it set up in a room, and they go, yeah, we think the camera looks good, and we think it, the audio coming in, it's like, that all looks good from your perspective. But you'd hate to spend, in this case, maybe $2,000 right on something, and have somebody on the other end go, hey man, I can, it's super noisy, I can barely hear you, or something like that. So I'm a huge advocate for remote demos, and I think they hold a great place. And usually what we see people doing in those types of situations is, let's do a remote demo so we can get an idea of what it's like from the far end. And then that'll, kind of jog the brain a little more to go, good, now we need to get our hands on it, and I want to see what it can do on this end. So I love that you guys have that. Hey, shout out to Jim Kaltenbach, who did some spec digging for us. Jim, I'm going to trust that you have accurate information here as I share this, but I will qualify it with the audience by saying we are not fact-checking Jim here, so we're trusting him that this has 10 points of touch. He said he found it on a spec sheet. So, okay. All right, we'll go with that, Jim. And if we need to correct it later, we can, no problem. But shout out for bringing that in.
Thanks, Jim.
We also... I love this audience, man. A lot of regular faces I see here, and I love you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it. Ed went ahead and did a little searching for us as well, and he said that it cannot find specific details on the microphone's pickup range. It may very well not be advertised at this point, which is totally possible. We are still in prototype phase, which really leads me kind of into what I have is my last question, really, Ryan. So I'm going to preface the audience quick by saying, hey, get your questions in as we kind of wrap up here, and we'll make sure we get to them. But my last question is, when can I get my hands on this thing, and where?
Yeah, great question. So you can actually order them now. We're taking pre-orders right now. So like, let it rip, folks. If you've got a customer who is dying to have something like this, you can get your orders in right now. In terms of shipping, we're looking at late April, May kind of time frame. So we're really excited to get this into people's hands. in a time frame that works for them too. So, now having said that, this is kind of a lame joke, Joe. So like, forgive me. One of the things that was called out was that there's actually fire retardant fabric on the back of the unit. So we're expecting them to be pretty popular, like literally, flying off the shelves that quickly. They're going to be that hot. Wink, wink. So yeah, sorry guys, I apologize. Sorry for the
you
groans.
said it was going to be you set it up. I love it.
Yeah, you were all warned. So we're going to ship them as fast as orders come in, basically. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm doing some work on the side right now. I dropped a tiny URL into the chat for the webinar that takes you to the spec sheet for this. And again, shout out, we've got a couple of folks here, Jim, Ed, who are doing some legwork for us. We're going to call them AV Exchange volunteers from now on. I wish I could pay you guys. Maybe let's talk about it another time, right?
Admin privileges or something.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah. So, okay, we're talking late April, early May kind of is the target time frame for shipping. Obviously, those things are moving all the time, and we know that. So if it's not on a certain day, I promise we're not coming for you, Ryan. I do have a question here, and it might be a touchy one, but we're going to get into it. Where you can guess why they're asking, I guess, without even me getting into it. But where do you know where the hardware is manufactured?
That's a good question too. That may be in the spec sheet. I believe it's overseas, China, Taiwan, potentially. But I'm not exactly sure top of my head. Again, maybe in that spec sheet. If it's not, we can certainly follow up with that information for you. By the way, there is no question as far as I'm concerned that's touchy. We want to make sure that we're giving people all the answers they need. Usually what happens is that question sort of dovetails nicely into like, well, does Smart have TAA products or products manufactured in a nation that's friendly to the USA? The answer is yes, we do. So I'm not sure how much I can say about this specific form factor right now, but if you have a customer that's coming to you saying, hey, we have to have TAA compliant products, we have those for sure. So we can definitely help you with that, if that's something that you're curious about or want more information on.
Awesome.
Sure.
I imagine, this specific question about pricing or manufacturing is relative to specifically to the USA market where we are and tariff impacts, given everything that's going on, which, are up and down and here and there. So everybody's trying to put a beat on something that's constantly a moving target. So I would say, one of the most effective things you can do if you have projects going on, get a fresh quote from our sales. We have Katie Thompson, our brand manager here for Smart here at Midwich. We have an excellent sales team. It's a big reason I love working here is because they're fantastic at their job. So get with your sales team member or Katie Thompson. Let's get a fresh quote so you guys are working with the latest information because the impacts right now seem to be all over the place and a lot of folks don't have it quite pinned down. We're kind of taking it on a case-by-case basis. So tough question. There's not a super clear answer to it in terms of the impact and what we can expect right now, but stay in touch with us since the target's moving and we'll give you the latest information as we have it. So I appreciate all the questions. We've gotten through them. Ryan, I threw a couple extra ones at you as well from myself that came up along the way. This has been an awesome conversation. I want to encourage everybody to reach out to their sales team members, certainly if they want to know more. But Ryan, where can the people, are you going to be, I'm sure InfoComm maybe, where can the people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be at InfoComm this year. We'll see. They haven't released the official roster here yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to that show for sure. If you want to connect with me, folks, I'm pretty friendly, so I'll do my best to connect with you as soon as possible. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I should be the only Ryan Striemer out there. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper, or if you want to schedule a demo outside of just connecting with me on LinkedIn and doing it that way, you can actually go to the Smart website, smarttech.com, and book a demo there, right? So we have lots of different folks, not just me internally, who are very happy and very eager to help you and give you the help that you need with your smart questions specifically. So yeah, let me know how I can help.
I appreciate it. I know we're connected on LinkedIn, and I'll look forward to hopefully seeing you at InfoComm if you can make it there. I don't want to let go the ability to book the demo on the website. If you have questions and you're not finding answers, certainly our sales reps are a good place to kind of start with. But if you want to see it and see it and experience it from the far end, especially, like, book a demo and just get right into it. Bring your questions there. I've done demos with Smart. They're great. The team's great. And I promise I wouldn't lie to you on that regard. I would just not say anything about it if they weren't. You know what I mean? So we appreciate it. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. I want to say thank you to everybody for taking the time out of their day to spend time with us to talk about the SmartBoard Mini. I will be excited to see you all. I think our next one is next week. So take a look at the events calendar on our website, check it out, and certainly come join us. And until then, we'll see you next time on the AV Exchange.